Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how
He's alive!
Welcome to where the weird ones are.
Every time I speak, I want the truth to come out.
Powerful figures in Hollywood as well as powerful politicians who are in fact not human. They're reptiles or they're lizards or perhaps extraterrestrials.
I don't think it is a human. I think it's a Sasquatch.
Go ahead and run. Run home and cry to mama.
Let's get weird.
What's up, you fucking weirdos? Welcome to another episode of Where the Weird Ones Are. My name is Kevin, but you probably already knew that, and if you didn't, now you do. So today's episode is with the ladies from Thick Thighs Creepy Vibes podcast, a podcast that I highly recommend because I listen to it and I enjoy it. They're straight out of Canada, so if you want to give support Canadians, I guess go check out their no, I'm just kidding. No, it's a really good podcast. I think you should check it out. If you like creepy shit. Both of them lovely ladies. I really enjoyed, conversating with them. We talk a lot about their podcast. We talk about some of their experiences, haunted hotels, haunted houses, an old lady on the stairs. I mean, it's some interesting shit. Both of these ladies decided to get some of my hot sauce and they tried it and they liked it and they made a video about it and it was pretty funny to watch their facial reactions. So I appreciate them so fucking much for not only supporting the hot sauce but also coming on and talking about some of their weird experiences. Time is our greatest currency, and the fact that they chose to spend an hour or so with me to talk about this weird shit means the absolute world to me. For everybody that you know comes on, it means a lot. So, shout out to the sponsor, Flavors of the Forest, raw garlic dust. I highly recommend this shit. It's very potent. You can taste every bit of the garlic. A lot better than anything you're gonna get at the store, in my opinion. So head on over to flavorsforest.com/weird. Get yourself a shit ton of this shit. Um, because you're gonna want a lot of it because you're gonna end up using a lot of it all the time. Um, so yeah, that again is flavorsforest.com/weird. You can also follow them on Instagram at flavorsforest. Nelson and Matt, fantastic dudes. Um, so yeah, I'm sure they would love the support. So next weekend, October 26th, Saturday, from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., I will be at the Ranson Civic Center for Cryptid Halloween 3. It is a free event, so if you're in the area of Ranson, West Virginia, I highly recommend coming on down and checking the shit out. I will be there with t-shirts and hot sauce, and I will also be speaking at this event, so that should be a good time. Um, so anybody interested in checking it out, if you're in the area, I'd love to see you, love to chat with you. Um, so yeah, I think that's about it that I got for today. So if you like today's episode, you like any of the episodes, and you're feeling up for showing some support, like, follow, share, subscribing are some of the best ways to do so. Leaving a rating and review definitely goes a long way. If your podcatcher doesn't allow you to leave a review, you can leave a review on the website where the weird ones are podcast.com. You can also get hot sauce, coffee, and some of my merch at the same web address that I just previously stated. Um, yeah, yeah. I have coffee. I have a coffee brand. It's something that I never thought was gonna happen. Like just things keep coming up, and it's pretty great. But November 3rd, um, Weird Java in the morning. It's Weird Java in the morning. Is a live show that I will be doing with my buddy David every Sunday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Central. We're gonna talk about news. We're gonna share. David's gonna pick a creepy video each week to share with everybody. We're gonna talk about the things people decide to put on TikTok. Videos that a segment where we share videos about that we find on TikTok that are either interesting, cringy, or hilarious. So, um, yeah. And then quick shout out to the ladies from Like Murder. They'll be helping us out with sending us a video talking about a missing person each week. So updates on stuff like that. Hopefully bring some of these people home. So yeah, if you are interested in checking that out, again, it's gonna be every Sunday morning on YouTube and Instagram live. And then I will put the audio together and put it out on the podcast on Monday morning. So if you're not into watching, then yeah. that- And then I think I'm gonna start doing one episode a week again, for here. I think I'm putting too much on my plate, I think, between work and the podcast and all that shit, trying to make sure that I have enough guests coming on to make sure that can do 2 episodes a week. Um, I don't want to, because there was a couple weeks previously where I only put one video, I've only did one episode, so. I think yeah, I think it just for me, I'm gonna go back to one episode a week unless, Conspiracy Tuesday comes out. So Conspiracy Tuesday will obviously make it 2 episodes in one week. Also the Weird Java in the morning will get posted actually I might just post it um right after we're done recording the live. So you'll get that as well. Um Yeah, I mean, I don't expect everybody to be up at fucking 9 o'clock. Some people have night jobs and shit. They're sleeping at that time. So, um, but yeah, the Patreon, $5 a month. You get early access to the show. You get story time. And then you can watch Conspiracy Tuesdays live. So every time I do a round table, which actually I do have a round table coming up this coming Monday. So the Patreon members, it's gonna be my Halloween special that I'm recording on Monday night. So if you're in the Patreon, I will be posting the audience link in there, so you can participate if you want to. Again, it's just one tier, $5 a month. You get a free coffee mug, and then you get all that shit. So, if you're interested in supporting me that way, cool. If not, that's totally fine too. Just happy that you're here listening, and I'm happy that you exist. And if you are struggling mentally, depression, anxiety, all that stuff, please, here in the United States, dial 988. That is the National Suicide Hotline. They're trained to, talk to you, talk you down, listen, if you need to vent and all that stuff. So, when God made the earth, he looked at it and was like, man, it needs one of this person, one of you. It needs one of you. Your existence means something, and I'm happy that you exist. I'm happy you're here. I'm happy you're here listening. And if you need somebody to talk to, you can always reach out to me. Um, that's totally fine. I don't mind. I will gladly talk with you if you need somebody. So just know it might not be right away, because sometimes I don't see stuff the minute that they get sent to me. So if you're in dire need, definitely dial 988. But if you just need somebody to hear you out, like you just need to message somebody, and maybe you don't even need to hear a message back. You just need to say something to somebody. You can do that. So, um, if you're interested in being featured on the show, uh, you can hit me up on the email where the weird ones are at gmail.com. Follow me on Instagram where _ the weird ones are, and Facebook where the weird ones are. You can message me on all of those platforms if you're interested in being the show, if you need somebody to talk to, or if you have a dating horror story and or am I the asshole story. So we are looking for dating horror stories and am I the asshole stories for Weird Java in the Morning show. So you can definitely submit them through email. Submit those stories through email. That'd be great. Make sure you put the title in the subject line, am I the asshole or dating horror story. And we're gonna tell your story on the show, and then we're going to discuss it afterwards. So that's all I got for you guys today. Again, happy you're here, happy you're listening. Never set out for the amount of listeners that I do have, and so I'm extremely grateful. I didn't even think that even 5 people would listen. So that's great. That's great. I love having these conversations. So without further ado, let's get into it with the ladies from the Thick Thighs Creepy Vibes podcast, shall we?
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Let's get weird. Let's get weird. Let's get weird. Let's get weird. Weird. Get weird.
What's up, my fellow weirdos? This is Jen and Mondo from 305 Paranormal.
And you're listening to Kevin from Where the Weird Ones Are. If you like what you hear, like, comment, sub, and share to hear more. Peace.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode. Today I have some Canadians, so you don't have to watch this one if you don't want to. I know Canadians and all that stuff.
Look,
no, I'm just kidding.
Just because you don't like our prime minister, don't hate us. We don't like him either. It's okay. No.
We're not affiliated.
Yeah, not at all.
I hear you. I hear you. Sometimes I would like to divorce my own government too. I love my country. I just don't like my government, which I think a lot of people can say that about their own country. I love my country. I just don't like my government.
Yeah.
Which
No, definitely.
Yeah, I think I don't know. There needs to be something changed somewhere.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
But anyways, yes, everywhere. Absolutely. Anywho, so I have the ladies from Thick Thighs and Creepy Vibes. If you like that name, you'll like the show. They talk about some creepy shit, so you should go check it out. But anyways, I'll let them introduce themselves and their show, and have them tell you where you can find it so you can go watch it, or listen to it yourself. So, how are you guys doing tonight? How's it going?
Good.
Pretty good. We're excited to be here.
Yeah. Very excited. I was like, oh my God, it's already Wednesday. I had to remind Avery yesterday. She forgot what day it was too.
I totally forgot.
I was like, lady,
Saturday.
tomorrow. She's like, I thought that was next week. And I'm like, we're already this far into October. I'm
Ooh,
like, yeah.
Shit.
See, we take care of each other.
That's scary.
Yeah. Well, I'm Mandy, and she's Avery, and we created Thick Thighs and Creepy Vibes. A couple of years ago, we started talking about it. It was kind of during the whole COVID situation, and we would always talk about how we go on crazy adventures and how funny we are and how we think we're pretty hilarious people. We're like, we gotta have a podcast. And we talked about it for a long time, and then finally in early this year, in January, February, we were like, let's just do it. We've been talking about it. Let's do it. We pretty much listen to the same type of podcasts. And so we were like, you know what? We kind of bounced around ideas on what we wanted to do. We definitely wanted to dive into the paranormal, true crime, whole genre, but we decided to just kind of narrow it down to Canada, because there is so much in Canada that even we don't know, that there's things that we know, but we have so much to explore. And there's a lot of the stuff we listen to is out of the US. And so sometimes, you're hearing, similar stuff over and over, but we wanted to touch on a lot of stuff in Canada that no one knows about, and things that, especially when it comes to any unsolved cases, that we wanted to get out to those within Canada and outside of Canada as well. So we're learning stuff as we're going along and doing this research and putting it out to you guys, and a lot of things too that we know of that we're excited to kind of, share or get out there. And recently we did a story about an unsolved murder case of an Indigenous woman in Alberta. And this happened in 2010. And her name's Amber Tucaro. And she's still to this day has her body was found, but she's still unsolved. And we've listened to a few other, creators come up, talk about the story, but it's not a big story, especially when it comes to the murdered and missing Indigenous women. And we actually had someone reach out to us, which was crazy because we were still so new in the podcast realm. We had it for a few months, who reached out to us and said, you said my cousin's name on your podcast. So she listened to that episode, because when Amber's body was found, there was 3 other missing women's bodies were found around the same area. And one of those women was this woman's cousin. And she reached out. She said, I found your podcast through somebody else, kind of local to us in Ontario. And she's like, I was just blown away to hear her name. And she shared with us a blog she had from when she found out her cousin had gone missing and was murdered. And so it was just crazy for us to be able to realize that we reached someone who was related to someone we were talking about, and allowed us to be we are, kind of getting out there. So that was pretty crazy for us. And then we just recently heard Mother Like Murder. They also covered her case with one of their friends. So it's kind of crazy for us with that.
It's definitely been a wild, crazy journey.
Yeah.
we didn't ever expect that we would make that kind of connection, and to have that connection pretty early on was just mind-blowing for us.
Yeah.
But it's been lots of fun.
Yeah.
So we're excited to
that's awesome.
bring out more stories and share them with, the community, because we've gained so many friends from this community already. Like, it's one of the, we weren't sure how it was going to be when we stepped into it, but everyone's been so supportive, super helpful, and just amazing people. So you can tell we're all like, into the same things, and we all think about the same. So it's definitely something we're happy we started, and we're excited to share, Canada, and bring it to everyone else for all these mysteries and unsolved stuff that's happening that you don't know about. So that's how we started the podcast, and kind of got in that way. And coming up with our name was a little fun.
It was something. I think when we were making our name, neither of us thought we would have to openly say it to people that we knew and like face to face. So it was more just kind of like a joke, like, oh yeah, that's catchy, that's cool. And then now that we're saying it to like our family members and our coworkers and our bosses, we're like, how to go about this right now?
Like when my 10-year-old said he told his teacher what my podcast name was, because I bought him a shirt. Like, so we created a merch channel, and so I had a shirt design, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna get this for my 10-year-olds, and he'll like it. It's Halloweeny, and he loves the podcast. So I got him it. It says "Creep It Real." It doesn't have our podcast like logo on it; just says "Creep It Real" with skeleton fingers doing the peace sign. So I got it for him, and he worked at school the one day, and he was so excited. So I guess he comes home and he's like, I told my teacher. I'm like, you told your teacher what? He's like, your podcast. I said, you did not tell your teacher my podcast. He goes, yeah, I did, Mom. I'm like, you did not tell her the name of it. He goes, yeah, I did. I said, did you say TTCV podcast? He goes, no. I'm like, you said the other one? He goes, yeah. And she said she's going to listen to it. And I was like, your teacher better not call me, because I swear on this podcast, and it's not like, your teacher should not listen to this. I was like, I don't want that.
Mandy's going to have a wild parent-teacher interview night soon. If it ever happens, it's going to be a wild experience.
And of course, my mom's like, well, if he swears at school, his teacher will say, well, I know where you get it from. So,
I mean, my daughter's gonna have a pretty interesting parent-teacher conference too, because her fucking science teacher told her that moose aren't real. So, and I was like, and I go, tell her to talk to some Canadians, because I'm sure they've all seen one.
I've seen a few of them. They used to go in the swamp out back of my aunt's house. Like,
yeah.
Oh gosh, we're getting like stuck on the road waiting for moose to cross around. Yeah.
Oh my god, yeah. I was leaving. I used to do tree work, and I was leaving one morning when my son was just born. I was leaving one morning to go to the trucks and stuff to go out for the storm duty, the storm cleanup. It was like 3:00 in the morning, and we're driving down the street 2 seconds out of my driveway, and there's a huge moose sitting in the middle of the street. And I was like, that's a moose. And my buddy's like, yep, sure is. And then it tried to run away from us, and it had it was like a sheet of ice, so it was having a hard time moving, and it was pretty funny. But I also felt bad. I was like, if that thing falls, it's gonna break its leg.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely.
They're dangerous. Like, I know, like, driving north here, my I've had family members hit like a moose. Luckily, it wasn't too big of a moose, but they did hit, and it did a lot of damage. Luckily, they made it out. But a lot of people who do hit them don't make it out, because they're just massive. It's like hitting a brick wall. Yeah. So
absolutely,
I want to have words with that science teacher. Okay, like,
I know, right? Like, what the hell?
Does he live under a rock? Jeez.
What the fuck? So, and also told her that it was a Mandela effect. Nobody's ever seen one. Is what
well, clearly
is what she said to my daughter.
Go anywhere.
And I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I was like, has she not left the city?
Does she not watch TV like National Geographic? Does she watch that type of stuff? I mean, some people.
It's very interesting.
She probably thinks the Earth is flat, right? She's one of those. No,
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
That's what my cousin tells me too. It's like the Earth is flat.
Well, it could be. We've never been to space, so we don't know.
You know what? That's true. It could have been all a made-up video that they did.
I know how stupid the flat Earth theory sounds. I get it. I understand. And I'm not saying that I actually believe it, although I did just say that I do believe it. I was lying. That was a fib. But I find it interesting and stuff. And with the hurricanes in Florida right now,
Yeah.
which actually I'm a little bit worried about my friends down there right now, Amanda being one of them. Milton hasn't hit yet as of recording this, but it's still concerning. And I see all these posts about the government is controlling the hurricanes and shit, and people are
I've
like,
seen those.
"Oh, conspiracy theories about government saying they control hurricanes and the flat Earth. It's all ridiculous and blah 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 blah." I mean, I'm not saying that they're controlling the hurricanes per se, or at least these ones, but they do have, like, it's facts. It's facts. They do have the technology to manipulate weather. So, I mean, the U.S. government,
Yeah, I've seen that.
cloud seeded during the Vietnam War, so it made it rain, even to make the monsoon season worse for the Vietnamese to fight us. So, just saying. And I didn't really expect to go conspiratorial with this episode, but here we are.
Hey, you know what? It comes up. I have friends who are also that way, and especially during COVID, there's a huge thing. So I have friends who are the same way, and we have these type of conversations. And like, speaking of Amanda in Florida, like we had messaged her and reached out to her to make sure she's okay. And we were talking. We also have a friend who's currently down in Florida. She went down for vacation to her parents' condo. She's been there since Friday. Her flight doesn't leave till Sunday, so her and her boyfriend are just kind of held up. They're in Cape Canaveral, so they're on the other side at like the end of it. But still, like, it's still scary. Like, they're right on the water. And she said she's good because she's high up, but she's like, I also have like a car here just in case I do need to hightail it out of here. And, the evacuation kind of moves in our area. So we kind of been talking with her, and it keeps saying like it's going from like it's category 5, and then it's like, oh, now it's down to category 3. Oh, now it's like back up to a 5. And then so it's kind of like, are you just saying it's a 3 so people aren't as scared anymore? Because there's a lot of people who have had to stay put. Like, I've seen just how it was when everyone left, and I wouldn't want to be stuck kind of on that highway on the water on your way out when everything comes through.
Yeah, that's another problem I think with evacuation, like mandatory evacuation. Like, who do these people think that they're telling to evacuate? Like, not everybody has the money to evacuate, and all the places that are taking people, like all the hotels, they're jacking up their prices. They're like, oh, people are evacuating, we're gonna make it a little bit more expensive so we can make good money off of this.
Yeah. And a few people I've watched some things, and some people have said that like Georgia is known for that when they know it's coming, they're jacking everything up, and that's where everyone's going, because that's really all place where they can pass through. So yeah, so we're hoping for them, like everyone's okay and everyone's safe, and we're just kind of sitting here waiting for updates from the ones that we know out that way. So
yeah. Fortunately, I mean, we here in Maine, we get hurricanes, but they don't, like, I mean, they fuck shit up sometimes, but it's not like that catastrophic to where it's, completely demolished, entire cities or towns and shit like that. Like, we get flooded, we get trees falling and stuff. Like, I guess the worst thing that happens is the tree falling on the house.
Yeah.
Like, that's about the like, our house doesn't go fucking flying away in any of our hurricanes, but
yeah, I don't think we had
and when they come up, when they come up with the snow in like winter and stuff, we get a shit ton of snow, which also sucks. So I guess that's the worst part for us.
Well,
But
you probably get more than we do now. So share some of that snow with us, because my son has a snowmobile he likes to ride, and we don't get as much snow anymore here. So
what?
You're hogging the snow. No.
I guess the fuck we are, because we didn't get it a lot this year. We didn't get actually we it was a very mild winter this year. Last year was really bad. Like we got a shit ton of snow. I mean, not last year, the year before. We got a shit ton of snow. It seems to be every once in a while the winters are just a little more dry.
Yeah.
But still fucking cold.
God, yeah.
And then
it's freaking cold, yeah.
Yeah. And I just started ice bathing, so hopefully I'm ready for it this year for the cold.
I've thought
So
about ice
get my
bathing.
body used to being cold. Yeah?
Yeah, I've known
You
some
should do
people
it.
who
It's
do.
good for you.
I've started like doing like cold showers. So like I'll have like a nice warm shower or whatever, and then at the end I just like have like a certain period where it's just like cold because I'm like, okay, maybe if I like get myself up here, then maybe I can start doing that portion of it. But I heard it's really good. I've had those conversations with people, and I'm like, I'm also a baby, so I don't know.
We have one here at home. Yeah, we have one here at home, and I'm like, okay, my toe's in. Okay, my foot's in. I haven't like made it past my shin. I was like, no, that's about it for me.
You just got to not think about it and go right in. Like, don't stop moving.
Just gonna have to dive in.
Pretty much. I mean, like, so I've gotten to the point now where I can actually stand, like, even when I'm done, like, I've been in it for 10 to 15 minutes, I'll stand up and take my time getting out. Like, it doesn't bother me anymore.
Yeah, I guess your body would regulate.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and I will say the other day, like, it just kind of felt like I was high all of a sudden. Like, not like goofy high, just like, oh, wow, look at the colors in the trees.
That's called
and
shock.
I'm just sitting
Your
there
body
in the
was in
freaking. Yeah, so they say 50 to 60 degrees is good. I was in 48 degrees the other day, so.
A few down,
wow.
So. I don't know, Avery, you do it first. Maybe I'll come to your house and try it.
I could die.
Yeah.
Do it together.
Sit there and just see me panic cry, be like, okay.
We'll cry together, Avery. It's okay. Wouldn't be the first time. Maybe it would. I don't know. 10 years? Has it been? Maybe. I'm sure we have.
Yeah, 10 years.
No, we've cried together. Maybe not at the same time, but yeah, we've known each other for 10 years. And our funny story is we told it on it's all the 170 podcast, and we kind of were like, we're never really prepared to say how we met and like how the relationship kind of worked out. But so I've known her for 10 years. My oldest
I was
10.
forced to be Mandy's friend.
You were forced.
I was forced.
You were forced into like, so she started dating my cousin. I was pregnant with my youngest. He's 10, and so they, like, my cousins are, you know, I kind of helped raise them. They're just like always around. So we were super, super close, and we just spent a lot of time together. So of course I would see Avery whenever they would come visit. And then when I had Preston, I think it was like the first summer or whatever, I would need a random babysitter. And I'm very particular about who watches my children. Usually it's just like my parents or really close friends. So I started to get her to babysit Preston for me. So we spent more time together. And then during COVID, we definitely got like really close because you were allowed like a certain group of people to hang out with. So that group of people was just like me, my ex-husband at the time, my cousin, and Avery, and then our other friend, Sarah. So we were just like always together all the time. And we got really, really close. And then after COVID, like just kind of near the end of COVID, they separated, like broke up. They were together for about like 7 years. And then I was like, well, I'm getting her in the divorce, so I don't really care what you say. She's still sticking around. And so we just stayed friends, and he was okay with that. And then not too long after that, I went through my divorce. So we just kind of, she was there for me through all of that. And she's still like, I'm not going to take her away from my kids and my family. And she's still, we always say she's still part of our family. Like my sister loves her, my niece loves her. We all still love her. And
nice.
So we just kind of kept that relationship. I see you more than I see my cousin for sure, but he also lives on like his little farm somewhere. So, yeah. So she's stuck with me now.
Nice.
I'm just stuck here.
Yep.
Yep. That's what it sounds like. That's what it sounds like. But I will say I appreciate you bringing light to Amber's case too, because cases like that definitely need more speaking about. I mean, what just a couple months ago, I think it might have been spring. Cole brings plenty. He passed away, and they're calling it suicide, and it doesn't look like a suicide. And he's also indigenous. He's an actor, or was an actor, I should say. And a few months prior to that, his sister went missing and found dead. And they're not looking into it. So it's really weird.
They just kind of like swept it under the rug and just left it.
Yeah,
like
it's strange. I mean, I'm part native, but I don't look native, and I wasn't raised in the heritage, so like I don't know a whole lot. My dad's kind of told me things. We do go to the reservation sometimes for family day and stuff like that, but so for me it's a little bit closer to home just because I'm also share a bloodline with tribal members. So like I'm like, would they do that to me if I was murdered? But also I'm more white than I am native, so
that's exactly
maybe they would.
That's exactly it. And it's so sad. So like
we felt that it was like
you go.
We felt like it was such a big important thing because Mandy has family who are blood members. Like I don't think they're super close in the bloodline, but they definitely are of indigenous backgrounds. And when I was growing up, I lived very, very, very far north, like middle of nowhere, Ontario, just outside of a reserve. So I grew up like in the environment and I grew up with that population. So I think for both of us, it was really something that we wanted to bring light to because it is so hidden, especially with like all of the crappy backstories in Canada. So that was one thing we did want to focus on a lot.
Yeah, and I personally appreciate it. When they found all the kids underneath the schools up there, I was like, whoa, what the fuck? Like I was already like, there's something weird going on with missing children. Like we need some attention here. And then all of a sudden they're like, we found some bodies underneath these boarding schools in Canada, and I was just like, no shit.
Yeah.
I bet you there's gonna be more. Then a week later, we found some more.
Yeah.
And we're like,
just
what
kept
the
going.
fuck? Yeah.
And it's so sad.
And so yeah. And I think the problem is that they were taken by force because they needed to learn how to be white.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the main purpose of
it. Is a problem.
Yeah, the government went in and they basically were saying like, we're going to take, they didn't understand their culture, didn't understand what they did, and they just kind of took them away. They promised a lot of parents that like they're in great hands, we're going to take care of them, they're going to have fun. And the moment that they took them and threw them in, they were stripped of everything. They couldn't see their families anymore. Their hairs were cut. They couldn't talk
their language.
They couldn't speak their language. They couldn't really talk to each other. Like there is, like I know we have September 30th is to honor. It's basically like Orange Shirt Day. So it's to honor those children that were lost and those families that were broken and torn apart because of this injustice that the government thought, you know what, this is a good thing to do because you have those powerful white men who think it's a great idea. And these people were just innocent, living their lives also, just embracing what their heritage was and what they brought here to the land. And so it was kind of like I feel like it was like a power trip for them. And it was a way to basically be like, no, this is our land now and this is what we're doing. And a lot of the people who did make it out, if they were lucky enough, suffered from the traumas they had. And that's the sad part, is so many people are like, oh, all they do is party and all they do is drink and all this sort of stuff. But they were never like that until they put them in this atmosphere where they were traumatized. Then they had to come out of it. And it's like everyone has a vice. And unfortunately, that's kind of what they pushed them to. And there are a lot of documentaries too to get into. I know Prime has them. I think Stars has some. I don't know if Netflix does, but I've watched a few documentaries from survivors and what they actually went through and how it affected them and their family and their future, and just they could never escape it.
No.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. You know, and then the generational trauma, the trauma's passed down through generations and stuff. But my grandfather was an alcoholic, and he wasn't the greatest father to my dad, and me and my dad have had discussions about it and stuff like that. Because I remember one of my earliest memories of my grandfather is going to his house and he wasn't there, and then we drove around town looking for him at bars.
Yep.
And I was like 4 or 5, and we found him and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And towards the end of his life, I was about 13, and I guess my dad. So I had a medium on here on the show, and she had said she, was bringing up, she was getting a male presence and stuff like that, and basically she ended up describing my grandfather,
Oh, wow.
and he was
Wow.
basically saying, he was telling her that he wished that he had been better or something like that. So when I got this information from her, I went to my dad and told my dad, and he goes, when he was in the hospital, when he was on hospice, like one of the last days that he could actually speak, he did tell me that there was things that he regret about he wished that he was a better father for us, and stuff like that. And I was like, oh wow.
Oh.
And then my dad would also told me that, because my dad is dark skinned, and he's like, I asked him when I was younger too, when I was learning about, you know, natives and the things that they went through and stuff like that, and knowing that I was part, I asked him about it. He goes, if he had ever experienced any racism. And he's like, the only thing that ever happened to me was, he goes, I did, but like it was like they would, bully me and try and pick fights with me because they thought I was Middle Eastern. So
Oh.
they kept
Wow.
calling him Packy and stuff like that, and all that. And he's like, I'm freaking, I'm more native to America than they are.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know. So I was like, oh, that's interesting. But he also had like long curly hair, like, natives long straight, and his hair was kind of curly. And yeah, it's interesting, the things that, have happened. Do I mean, obviously we can't change the past.
No.
The best thing that we can do is learn from it and change our future.
Oh, definitely.
I mean,
Yeah.
we have the Trail of Tears. My grandfather used to have a sign at his house that said, "Wounded Knee" on his property, and I don't know if you ever seen the movie "Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee." That's about the reservation and the Trail of Tears, where I think it's South Dakota or whatever, and they moved the Sioux tribe from where they were living miles and miles to a reservation, and they lost almost half their tribe um in that traveling to where the government wanted to place them. So they lost a
That's so
lot
sad.
of people.
They lost a
Yeah.
lot of their
Terrible.
bloodline.
Oh.
And it's
Yeah.
so sad. It's like it's like kind of they knew what was going to happen along the way, and that's why. And there's so much, and I think there's a lot of the U.S. too when it comes to the indigenous that a lot of people don't know about either. There's so much that's hidden,
Yeah.
not like just in Canada. I think a lot more has come to light in Canada because of the residential schools recently and the things that have happened there. But I do believe that there is so much more too in the U.S. that just isn't being talked about or brought up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, same with Central America too. Because
Yeah.
that's where Columbus was coming through, was Central America and the Bahamas and shit like that. He didn't land right in the Bahamas. Maybe he did, but either way, indigenous people in America do not like Columbus Day, for a reason, and I think it's a good one.
Yep.
So,
Definitely.
my aunt is on the reservation trying to be. She was running for governor of the reservation, but I don't think she got voted in. but she goes to Plymouth Rock just to flip it off every once in a while.
I love that.
It's kind of funny.
That is pretty
She
funny.
posted a picture on Facebook, I think like 2 or 3 years ago, of her flipping off the rock, and there's a little or the bell. It was either the rock or the bell. And there's a little girl right across the way, and I'm like, it looks like you are flipping off a little girl right now.
Poor kid's like, what's happening?
So that, yeah, she was just, yeah. So, but no, I appreciate you guys doing that episode, because that was the first time I heard Amber's case, and then I recently listened to Like Mother Like Murder, and as I'm listening to it, I'm like, why does this sound so familiar? And I'm like, oh yeah, I know, I remember where I heard this first. I heard it from you guys first. So
yeah, I was happy when they posted that. I was so excited. I like messaged them and I posted about it, and I think her name was Stephanie is who did it, and so she does a lot of Canadian things too. So I think that's great. That
she is Canadian.
Yeah. So we're making friends with those Americans, so you guys can tell our stories too, and we can tell your stories and get them all out. So I love it, working together.
Yeah, America's better though. Anywho.
Oh, I think I need to go now. Just
close it.
Oh man. But yeah, so growing up, did you guys ever experience anything paranormal-esque?
Yes.
Definitely. I think Mandy is like the winner of all stories here. This lady has had like so many paranormal, creepy, ghosty crap happen to her where I'm like, are you just telling me movie plot lines at this point, or is this real life?
Yeah, randomly to like
it is really hard to
things
decipher.
But I grew up in a very like paranormal household, so growing up
like very
active. Like I grew up around the conversations of the paranormal, the afterlife, spirits, the whole sixth sense and trust your gut mentality. But growing up, my mom had some sort of, she's still not sure what it is, but she has these like little capabilities, and that's kind of where it all started for me, was hearing her stories and finding out that when I was actually born into an old farmhouse that was haunted also. So my sister was I think 4 or 5 at the time, and experienced someone pulling on her and tugging on her while we were in that home. And I lived until I was about 6. So my sister has kind of always been sensitive since then. And she has, even her daughter, like all my kids, her daughter have seen things, heard things. Her daughter's completely in the whole, we're trying to figure out how she can come on our podcast.
How old is her daughter?
4. So her daughter is 4. And
that's scary.
She told my sister, no, this is
scarier. Terrifying.
She told my sister,
it is so scary,
that she has another family. So my sister lives in the town where my mom grew up, and my sister was riding around town somewhere, and my niece said to her, "Oh, that's my old mom and dad. Like that's where I used to live with my old mom and dad." And my sister goes, "Excuse me?" And she goes, "Yeah, in that house. I used to live there with my old mom and dad." And my sister's like, "Oh, okay. Like, who are these people? What are their names?" So she had names for them. And my sister was like, "I got to look this up." Because she's like, my sister has communicated and hears things and spirits and stuff like that. So she was like, "I got to find out what's going on." And so my sister started to ask her more questions, like, where did they work? Blah, blah, blah. So she could point out to my sister where they worked, what they did. And my sister was like, "This is like the creepiest, craziest thing ever." She's like, "I am one of those people that you see on those shows where these kids are like, I was that person and this is how I died." And I was like, she will, like, she's into like everything horror. So she like, her favorite movie is Nightmare Before Christmas. She loves zombies. Everything about zombies. She's always watching Halloween stuff when she's at our house. She is into all that stuff. She made me like a skeleton mermaid that we had posted. That mermaid was from my 4-year-old niece. She had to give me a mermaid skeleton because we both love mermaids and we both love Halloween. Like nothing really scares her, but she'll like kind of see things too at the same time and like point things out to my sister. My sister's like, I don't really know about that, but all right. So I'm kind of interested. My sister wants to take her like to a medium and kind of talk with someone because she thinks it's crazy how she was like, I had a family before I had you. So that's kind of.
I would cry if my child said that to me. I'd be like,
yes,
sorry,
yes,
I
me
don't know
too.
how to help you right now.
Me too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
See, my
actually
sister.
have somebody for your sister to talk to if you want. I can send you her information.
There you go.
Yeah, please
her episode just came out today. JJ Rose is her name.
Oh yeah, yeah. I haven't listened
JJ
to that
Rose
yet.
777. Yeah. So she's a medium, and she can definitely help. She's remote viewed my house before and has removed an entity that was cowering in the corner because she said that when she comes, she brings a lot of light. So
Avery's terrified. She's like,
wow.
Yeah, so like my studio was all the way upstairs on the second floor of my house. Right now I'm in the basement. But the second floor of my house, the room that was also my bedroom that I turned in my studio is the most haunted room in my house. I used to see, shadow figures would stand in my doorway all the time. I had a shadow figure or something pretending to be a shadow figure enter my room,
those are the worst.
and it was like a full-figured woman, very curvy and stuff, but it was just a shadow. Like actually her hair kind of looked like Avery's, the way it was like flowing. Like it just like kind of like flowed and stuff like
Avery
that
in her
and stuff
past
as she
life.
like walked in.
No.
But
It was me,
but
sorry.
she walked like fucking C3PO as she came in. Like
that's
she's just
even
like
scarier.
Just like block moving towards you.
Yeah, and then I heard knocking on my door. Nobody's there. Nobody else is in the house. My hat fell off my desk one night when we were recording. I saw a shadow move
Oh
across
my
when I was
God.
recording with Natasha from Cryptid Creeps and
Yeah.
Conspiracy. Yeah, so when I spoke to JJ, she literally I'm looking at her in her face and she's meditating, and all of a sudden I feel like my body's vibrating.
Oh my.
Like really like
wow.
going so fast, but I'm like staying still. But like that's how I felt. Like I was just going like
Yeah, like as
my
everything's
whole
jumping inside
entire
of you.
body.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, and she's like, so she's like, can you feel me? And I'm like, yeah, I think so. And then she told me that she removed something from there. And ever since she had visited there, I haven't had any occurrences.
Wow.
So
oh wow.
knock on some wood.
Yeah, I got wood
that
here.
it
I'll lock on it.
continues to be that way.
I got it.
Yeah.
So, but we'll see.
Oh wow.
That I feel like talking about this stuff kind of like manifests it a little bit.
As Mandy's psyching around, it's probably one of her animals, but I just saw the look on her face, like, well, something's there.
No, it was my son walked behind me and I thought there was a ghost and I was my son. Oh my God, drive me. I was like,
as he jumps in the background.
Oh my God, scared the crap out of me. I'm normally not that scared.
This happens all the time when we record. Either like one of our animals jumps up or Preston pops out of nowhere and both of us are like so heated in the story and all of a sudden we see like a glimpse of something and we're like shitting our pants like, ah, it's here for us, what's happening? But it's really Preston just playing all these pranks on us constantly.
Oh, he's such an asshole. I love you, but God, you're a butthole. Still love you. Don't scare me like that. I didn't even hear him come down. He was so quiet. I heard the dog bark and then I was like, when you were talking about shadow person.
I saw him walk by.
Holy God. Man, normally I don't jump like that because I'm like, I used to work in a haunted hotel. So normally I'm usually pretty good.
I told you. She's got so many freaking stories.
Yeah. Well, like I was saying, like, so my mom, she kind of like started on that whole thing for us. And I think she kind of knew that me and my sister kind of had that ability too, like, especially my sister. And so, especially when my sister was like 4 and was like, some old man's pulling on me. And my mom was like, what the hell? But she said in that house, when my sister felt that man hold on to her and pull her, that my my mom said she felt safe. So it was like an old farmhouse. House doesn't exist anymore. It kind of burned down because the family, just after the family passed away, it just kind of got left, and then it burnt down. And it was like kind of set back out of town, like close to where I am now, out of town, back in the country. And back, it was like, the late 80s. My dad worked like 2 jobs, always gone night shift. He always has, always still does. So my mom was always home alone with like a little baby and a toddler. And her sister lived up the street, but still she didn't have a car to get there. So at nighttime, she'd be there by herself. And she said she actually didn't feel like she was alone, but she felt safe. Like she didn't feel like she was in any harm. So we never did find out like what happened. We're pretty sure an older man died in that home, but we don't really know much about the background. We had rented it when I was small. But my mom did say that when my sister was, I think she was around 5, probably a year after, she did mention that she did get an encounter from like my mom's dad. So my mom's dad died of cancer a couple years after I was born, and he would come stay with us during my mom's pregnancy with me just to hang out, spend time with my sister. And after he had passed away, my sister said that, Grandpa would come, he would sit on the end of my bed and like read to me and stuff. So my mom was always like, okay, your sister's got some abilities here, which explains my niece in a nutshell. But my mom didn't have, like, she wouldn't see things per se, like as in like ghosts or figures or anything. But she would have like a sixth sense, so she would have dreams. So she had a few times, I think most of these happened prior to like when, it happened after my grandma passed away too, but her one dream she can remember, she would have it 3 times in a row, and it had to be like a vivid dream. So it had to be like as if she was living it in real time. And if she had it 3 times the exact same way, nothing changed, it somehow would happen. So one was when she was a teenager, she was at her friend's house, and her dream was she kept seeing a man falling past a window, and she was at a kitchen table. She had the same dream 3 times. She was at her friend's house, sitting at the kitchen table with her friend, and her friend's dad was working on the roof. He fell off the roof, and she saw him pass by the window. My mom was like, okay, that's wild. Yeah, she was like, no way, that just has to be a coincidence. And she had a few other incidents happen. And then one that still sticks with her to this day, still sticks with all of us, is when we were smaller. I was probably around like 8 or 9. So we used to live in a small town called Penetanguishene off of Georgian Bay. And we've done some stories on Penetang. And we lived on the outskirts.
That's an interesting name.
It's a very interesting.
It is. It's spelled very wild too.
Yeah, it's very long, so we just say Penetang instead of Penetanguishene. So we lived in a little area called Sawlog Bay. So outside of town, you would drive probably about like 20 minutes outside of town, and then kind of like come back into town. So we would take this route, and they're all like little country roads, and it was along the water. And especially in the winter, then we did get a lot of snow at that time. And she kept having a dream that when she would pass by this one area, she kept seeing a car upside down in the water. So she was worried it was going to be her. She's like, I don't know who this is or who this car is. And one day she was going to work, and it legit was happening at that time. So she had to pull over. Turns out, because at that time they had no barriers along the road, it was like a big curve, and there was no barriers to go into the water. So I guess some old man, I believe he had a heart attack, and his car veered off and went in there shortly after they put the barriers up. But that was very, like, all of us were like, oh my God, that's insane. So yeah, the little
wow,
crazy things. I don't think Avery's had as many crazy experiences.
Definitely not anything like super wild and concerning, but definitely like a few little things here and there, I guess. Nothing like Mandy at all.
Gotta tell your grandma joke. Your grandma one, but the old lady on the stairs.
My grandma joke.
My grandma joke, not your grandma joke, but like your old lady grandma.
My grandma. So a lot like Mandy, I did grow up in a house that we believed was haunted. Couldn't ever find any research about it. But backstory in the house, like my mom grew up in the house. At one point, my mom's dad had lived in the house when he was like a teenager or something. So it wasn't our family, but it was like very broken up. So like my grandpa lived in it when he was younger. Like 10, 15 years later, he bought it. And then my parents did end up buying it from my grandpa right away. So my mom remembers stories like this. She like knew about it. We kind of just brushed it off and made it a big joke, but we had a very, very steep staircase. It was an old farmhouse. And there was like this awkward little like ledge on the stairs where the top floor met the stairs. And it was like we called it the ledge. Like you could sit there. And every time you'd walk up there, you'd get this strong perfume smell. And we're like, well, this is intense. Like I didn't wear perfume as a child. My mom's like super sensitive to scent, so she never wore it. And we're like, where the hell is this coming from? What is going on here? So eventually my brother and I just asked my mom one day, like, what is this? And she's like, oh yeah, it's just the old lady on the stairs. And we're like, sorry, what? She's like, yeah, it's just the old lady ghost. Like she's been there since I was a kid. It's fine. Same thing happened. Like I wouldn't, like my mom wouldn't wear perfume. My grandma didn't anything, but she's like, yeah, she's just sitting there. Like it'll get cold. It's nothing. So from then on out, it was like a running joke that if my brother and I were going up the stairs and we tripped and fell down a little bit, we just blamed it on the old lady ghost. But never ever harmful. It was always just harmless. She just wanted to like push us down the stairs every once in a while. No biggie.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you never like actually saw her, you only smelt the perfume?
Just smell, and it was like a very distinct perfume. Like I could probably go into a store and like smell it and be like, that's it. That's the one she was wearing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was like nothing like I've ever smelled, like ever. So it was wild.
Very Victorian like perfume.
Yeah. Very old lady. It was an old lady.
Very old lady.
I just like perfume or cologne, to be honest with you. I used to wear cologne, but look, I don't like it. Anymore.
I don't really wear it either. Like I find, especially after having my two kids and my scents and stuff, I don't know. Plus, I don't know, half the time I like lucky if I brush my hair when I leave my house. I'm like, I don't have like deodorant on, brush my hair. I don't have time. I can't afford perfume. I have children. I have a kid in college.
No, exactly.
I can't afford that. It's too expensive.
You have a kid in college? What the fuck?
I do. My oldest
just started.
Just turned 18 in August, and he just started at a local college about an hour and a half away in September. And he just did his medical for his reserve training. So he's also going to be doing that while he's at school, because there's a place close by called Base Borden that he would go to, because he was an air cadet for about 5-6 years, and he's like a little old soul, old man.
Yeah. Well, you have to share with us your skincare routine, because you look like you are fucking 12, lady.
Thank you. Me and my sister, it's so funny we do that, because mom's the same. Like she'll take my kids places and they're like, oh mom, blah blah blah, and they're like, no, that's grandma. Like it's not my mom. But we both had our kids young. Like so my parents were like in their early 20s when they got married and had my sister and had me, and I was 21 when I had my oldest. But I mean, you can't see my gray hair, so maybe that helps with it, because can't see that yet.
Maybe.
I mean, they've definitely stressed me out in that sense, but yes, I'm I take these good looks when I hang out with my oldest. He's like 6'1". He's got a giant beard. He looks like a 25-year-old's man. And anytime we just went to Dallas in January, I took my kids on a trip before my son started college, and that was their Christmas present. And we were in the airport, and the guy looks at my youngest passport and goes, they both have two different last names. He goes, oh, is that Mr. Roach behind you? And I said, no, that's Mr. Clark. That's my other son. And he was like, oh, because he thought he was my husband. I'm like, it's like Disney World all over again, Owen. They think we're married. He's like, when I'm with my dad, they think we're brothers. I'm like, you do look a lot like your dad, and you're a lot taller than your dad. So yes. But he looks like a grown-ass man.
Hilarious. That's funny. My son is starting to surpass me as well. He'll be 16 next month, and I had him when I was 20.
Mhm.
So we're kind of close. You know,
Yeah.
2 years difference between the kids. He had a short stint of having my shoe size.
Yeah.
Like it was very shortly lived. So I'm size 12, and he's like, God, I'm size 12, and I was like, no shit, we gotta go get you fucking size 12s. And I was like, you can probably wear my fucking dope ass sneakers that I have, because that I have like 20 pairs of.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah. And then like a month later, he's like, I'm size 13. I was like, shut the fuck up.
That's my son. I swear to God, there was something in that COVID shot, because my son just looked like this little he was a 4-pound baby. So like when I look at him, I'm like, what the fuck? What happened? Like, he eats for like 5 people. He wears size 14 shoes. He's got like large men's size clothing. I don't mind, because I get all of his like older coats from when he was like, 13 or 14, because I'm pretty sick in the brand names. I'm like, I'm gonna take your shit. But I'm like, man, what happened? It's like I woke up one day and I was like, is this my son? What happened to you? I don't understand. He has like more facial hair
my God.
than my 29-year-old cousins. And they hate it. They're like, how the fuck does he have a full ass beard? And I can barely get like a little soul patch. I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know. Something in the water that year. I don't know.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Well,
Yeah.
I'll say that I've had an issue with my beard, because being part native, we don't technically get facial
That's my
hair. So
cousin's
it's been
problems then.
like this. Yeah, this is the best it's been in my entire life, and this has only been like the past 2 years.
It's better than my cousins, and that's exactly why. They're like out with their little baby faces, and they like try to grow them in, and they're just like look. My one cousin tries it, and I'm like, you look
Yeah.
like a catfish. Like you just these little whiskers just on the side. I'm like, it's okay, just embrace it.
My dad can only get a mustache, and he got like 2 hairs on his chin, and then the rest of his face was fucking bare. And I'm like, so I grew up with him fucking just having this big fucking bushy ass fucking Mario fucking mustache.
I call it the 80s porn stash. My dad had one of those too, with his like long, fully mullet, and then his like all these pictures from our kids in the 80s, and I'm like, man, what a look.
Yeah, do you remember the movie Princess Bride?
Yes.
Yes.
My dad looked like the what the fuck's his name? The fuck, nay, why can't I remember his name? The guy, the Spanish guy that friggin' is looking for the 6-fingered man. My name is what the hell? My name is, I don't know, Benicio del Toro, and you kill my father, prepare to die.
That's like Indigo or something? Not Indigo. Something like that.
Oh man, now it's gonna bother me. I've known this guy's name my entire life, and now that I'm talking about him on fucking air,
Yeah, you
I can't remember shit.
That's why I could never do Jeopardy or those shows, because I forget that shit too in place. I'm like, like that one, he's got like that hair and that like eyeball, and he plays in that movie. With that other actress? Yeah. And we were like,
just the guy with the face.
And then,
yeah. And like my boyfriend's
the
always
second we get it, we're like, oh yeah, I knew that. Yep,
it's on the tip of my tongue. Yeah, all the time. And that's so funny.
Yeah, that is. Oh my god. So, have you ever had an experience that you can attribute, that you're not sure, but but what you experienced that you can attribute to being a cryptid of some kind?
Yes. Well, it wasn't my experience, but it was my son's experience. So my oldest, so we used to live in this an old home out in the country, and we bought it from a man who had passed away. So when he had passed away, his kids came and were like, hey, can we spread his ashes out on the property? Of course, our family were so morbid. We're like, yeah, for sure. You know what? My dad's created a pet cemetery out in the corner of the yard. Let's spread this guy's ashes out there with all of our dead animals, okay? Because that's how I was raised. So we let them. We're like, yeah, it's cool, Mike. Whatever. Like, this man lived in his home. Like, go for it. So we let his sons do that as part of their closure and stuff like that. And we kind of did some history on the house ourselves to kind of figure out who else lived there, that type of stuff. And we ended up finding out that prior to the man who we bought the house from, there was a family before. Turns out this whole house was just a whole lot of bad luck rolled into one. So the people who lived into it prior, I think it was around the 70s, the dad of the family was drinking one night, decided he wanted to go to the store, went out the end of the driveway, and it was a long driveway. And then he would kind of go up a little hill and then go down before he hit the road. And then it was a long country road. And people would book it down that road. I know I used to. So he ended up leaving the road. Someone was driving, smoked the car, and it apparently got decapitated. Sorry, oh my God,
This happens all the time. She has cats who just go absolutely buck wild. Like, oh, it's the dog.
It's the dog chasing the cat.
Oh
my God, this is our life. Like, this is what we do.
Little hallway, and they just like
can't get traction, so they're like,
go for it.
Scooby-Dooing it. I don't know. Like... Anyways, back to my story, because no one closes the basement door when they leave. So we found that out, and then in the house, my parents were like renovating, so they had like a bunch of big windows, which didn't have curtains on them. I fucking hate that. I like windows with curtains, and this is the reason. So my son was probably like 5 at the time, and he kept going, like he would go out into the kitchen, and there was like a big bay window into the kitchen, and then a back door, and then another big set of French doors, and then a bathroom, and then an entrance to like a really dungy basement. So my son would go out there, and of course, no curtains on the window. And he kept telling my mom, he kept seeing someone. He kept seeing a floating head. He's like, there's someone out there and they're looking at me. He said it was just this floating head, which I think he said was green, just in the window. Ooh. And my mom's like, what are you talking about? And she went out there. She didn't see anything, but he was like, nope, I saw something there. So we were like, okay, like, is it like the ghost of the man? Is it some weird entity? We don't know, because we didn't see it. And he was so small, he couldn't really explain it to us. But I would say that's like the closest to some sort of cryptid that my son saw.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's fucking creepy as fuck. I would have when somebody else is experiencing something and they're telling me like they're seeing something right there and I'm not, and I'm like, I want to run. Like, because that's happened to me several times throughout my entire life. I'm just like, I don't know what you're seeing and I can't see it, so that makes me think that it can get me and without me seeing it. So I don't want to be around here. So I often would like to burn houses down when I experience shit in a house. Like, I'm just like, let's fucking burn this motherfucker.
Yo, that's our motto. Either sell it, sage it, or burn it. That's our
sell
motto.
It, sage it, or burn it.
Yeah.
Those are your only options.
One of the 3.
My sister has some freaking wild stories. We used to sit in her room in the middle of the night, like not on a school night, because you know, how dare we stay up on a school night? But
how rude! Yeah, I can't do that.
All right. There was this. We were hearing noises, and we're sitting there in the dark, and all of a sudden her door starts creaking open, and we're like,
ooh.
And my heart's pounding, and then my stepsister fucking sticks her head in the door and goes, "What are you guys doing?"
Oh my God.
I was like, what the fuck?
That was like me with my son walking right past me and behind me, and I was like, holy shit, what is that?
No, that's like me, my cousin. So my one cousin's like 6 years older than me, and whenever we were around, she would get put in charge of babysitting her younger brother, who's like a year older than me, and then my younger brother. So we're all within like 3 to 4 years of each other. So we're little tyrants, obviously. And across the street from our old house was this big park, and we were like the only kids in our neighborhood, so we claimed the park as our own. And at the bottom of the park, there was this awkward little set of stairs that like led down to another cul-de-sac area. And it was overgrown and foresty and just creepy. So my cousin, A, didn't want us to go down there because it was weird. And then I found out much later in life that she didn't want us to go down there because she would have to go down there. So she told us we couldn't go down there because there was a witch that was going to steal us and keep us from our parents for the rest of our lives if we went near it. So I grew up like so traumatized with these staircase because she was like, you can't go down there. There's a witch.
Jeez.
That's mean.
Jesus Christ. How old were you? Did you say how old you were?
Oh, it probably started when I was like, I don't know, 7, 8.
Wow.
So maybe my little brother's 2 years younger than me, so.
Holy crap. That's terrifying for that age, man.
It was.
Yeah.
It
what
was.
a bitch. Do you still talk to her?
Yeah. She fully admitted. She's like, yeah, I was a bitch. I didn't want to take you down there. I was like, no, fuck you.
Classic. You know what?
Yeah.
I get it. As an
My
older
God.
cousin, I get it.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
So, Avery, are you also like in your 30s looking like you're in your 20s?
No, I'm in my 20s. I'm 28.
Oh, okay. Because I was gonna say, like,
yeah.
you look 23, so that's still better than
thank
28.
you.
I think.
We're like,
You're welcome.
we're like 10
I
years
also
apart.
love your hair. I love your
Thank
hair.
you. It's a rat's nest, so I appreciate that.
No, I love it.
Oh, okay.
I love when it's curly.
Well, it looks amazing right here. Yeah, I love curly hair
Well,
myself.
So it was her soul that showed up at your house with that curly. She was being like, Mr. Robot.
Oh my God.
It was me.
I mean, I think that thing was trying to make me think that it was something attractive. Is what I would think.
Oh yeah,
was thinking.
it was like trying to pull you.
So
there's a TV show that like kind of hints at that kind of shit. Oh, I'm not gonna remember what it is.
God, we're
One of my
awful at
coworkers
this.
was telling me, and she's like, "It's creepy." Like From, maybe.
Crumb?
I don't know. Maybe I told you about it.
You did?
From. I think.
From?
Maybe I didn't.
God, I can't remember
Some
what I did
weird shit.
yesterday. Like, what am I gonna remember?
That's
You told
true.
me.
Good point. But basically, it's like this town. When it gets dark, you basically have to lock yourself in your house because these like creepy monster things will come and like if you leave your doors or your windows curtains up, it like gives them access to come into your house and basically like torture you and kill you. So if you have your curtains closed, your doors locked, windows locked, they'll like sit there and like tap at your door and like try to seduce you to like let them in. So this one chick, she was like, please, like I'm in love with you, let me in. So the guy eventually lets her in and he gets killed like horribly. So maybe that's what was happening to you.
Jeez and rice. That's what I kind of think, man. Honestly, I think it was. I don't know, but I was also experiencing sleep paralysis, but at the same time, so I couldn't move. And like right before it climbed onto my bed, I was because I could see my phone out of the corner of my eye, so I was like wiggling my fingers, trying to like grab my sheet to inch my hand closer to my phone so I could light up the room.
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting there like this. And then looking back at the thing.
Oh yeah,
and
don't
then
turn your eyes away.
And then so it looked like it was about to put its knee onto my bed to start like crawling towards me onto my bed. And I'm like sitting there like sprawled out. So it's like and it's down by my feet. So the door is at my feet and it's coming towards me and I was like
Oh no. Terror. I would have peed my
like
pants.
it's funny now to talk about it, dude. When I broke out of the paralysis and I grabbed my phone and I lit up the room with my light and there was nothing there. I as soon as like that relief hit me, just sweat started trickling down my forehead.
That's one thing I've never experienced.
No.
It is terrifying to me. Like I've experienced like things moving. Like I said, I did work in a haunted hotel. I worked night shift in a haunted hotel for probably about like a year and a half. And so I've experienced like noises, things moving, but never like I smells of things too. Just random like smell of like lavender after my grandma passed away. I would randomly just smell because that was like her favorite flower. When I worked at the hotel, I would smell like wood burning in the dining room and the old fireplace at nighttime when no one was there, but we never lit the fireplace. So you would just randomly get a whiff as if someone had just smothered a fire. But never.
Oh,
no.
Gross. I don't
One
like that
thing
either.
that did happen to me. So, I work with kids with autism. So in the town I live in, there we had to like have this center, and the center was an old abandoned church and parish. So my boss at the time, she took the church and kind of renovated it into a like gym space, and then the parish was like our therapy rooms and like activity center. So I would often be the last one at work because I lived right around the corner. So I would make sure everything's locked up and made sure that my coworkers had somebody else there with them if they were working with a kid. So especially in the winter, 'cause it's creepy. It's at like the top of this hill. There's like not really many streetlights. It's an old church, and it's just terrifying. And like this stuff creeps me out to begin with. So like I'm there by myself, like looking down, trying like not to make eye contact with anything, looking at the walls, just trying to rush out of there. But one night, I turn off all the lights and I'm kind of doing one of these as I'm getting out of the building. And I remember making sure to put all of the toys back on the shelf. And then all of a sudden, I'm going to punch in the code to set the alarm. And we had a lot of cause and effect toys. So, like ones that sing songs, push buttons, and it makes this noise, whatever. All of a sudden, a toy starts going off. And I like panic and I start shaking. I'm like, oh, fuck, oh, fuck, oh, fuck. So I kind of just peek back a little bit to make sure that I didn't leave anything. And there's one single toy sitting right in the middle of the playroom, and it's lighting up all these colors and it's singing this creepy like old McDonald's song. I'm terrified. I see it. I'm like, okay, no, I gotta go by. And I just ran out of there. It was horrible. And like that happened so often. So often.
My God. That is terrifying. I've had, when my kids, especially when my kids were little, like toys going off in the toy box, and that's creepy. But to like peek around the corner and to see a toy in the center of the room just going off, that's creepy as fuck, dude.
Oh man,
Holy
or like
cow.
random things would like swipe off the shelves there, and I'm like, oh god. But it was given. It was an old church. There was a cemetery in the side yard. It was given. Still didn't want to be around it though.
Yeah.
Cemetery in the side yard. Awesome. That's a good combination.
We had like a gravestone here and then a swing set here. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
What a great place to take the children to play.
It was so fun.
There, you're right. So I actually have that. Actually, makes me reminds me of a story. So I used to live across the street from a cemetery, and so next door, it was a bunch of duplexes, and we had two driveways, and then so the buildings were they're the exact same, and they look at each other. And my ex-wife's brother lived right next door to us, so our driveways were next to each other. And so they have a bedroom upstairs that their window looks right out into our window. So there was one night I was sitting there. I think I might have been playing video games or something. It was dark in the house. I think everybody was asleep, and I just happened to be looking out the window, and it looked like somebody was standing in his bedroom window staring at me.
Ooh.
I'm just like, so I waved.
That's creepy.
They didn't move, and I was just like, and then I gave him the finger, thinking that it was him. And then I went back to playing my games. And then the next day, because we also worked together, I'm like, hey, what? I was like, what the fuck was that? And then he's like, last night. And he goes, what? And I go, you were staring at me through the window last night. He goes, no, I wasn't. I was like, there was somebody standing in your bedroom window. Don't fuck with me. And he's
my God.
He's like, no, but I will tell you this. He goes, the owners the guy that I'm renting this from, his sister killed herself in the apartment.
Oh my gosh.
And she stayed in that room. He
shit.
goes, last night the laundry basket came down the stairs and nobody was upstairs.
Oh god. So here
So
you are just sitting there flipping off this dead chick.
He was like, how rude, I'm gonna haunt you now.
oh shit.
Oh man.
And I'm like, all right, keep her over there.
Yep.
So he
Yep.
goes, he goes, there's a lot of times that I'm really scared to be in this house. He's like,
Yeah.
I'll tell you that. And I'm like, yeah, I
Yeah.
would be too.
Oh, for
And he
sure.
tells me all these weird things that his dog does and stuff that day. And I was like, man, why didn't you tell me this stuff before? I would have been like prepared. I wouldn't have flipped off a ghost, bro.
Yeah. Hey, you never know what they're gonna do after
Oh,
that.
man.
Oh god.
Yeah.
Right. You're like, God, man. So
Jeez.
have you ever, Avery, have you ever seen something physical in physical form at all?
I haven't seen something like standing right in front of me. I caught like weird glimpses out of the corner of my eyes where I've just kind of chalked it up to maybe it was like a ghost or something, but never
Mhm.
anything in like full form. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I think I might cry if
Well,
I
that's
did, to
good.
be honest.
You would cry.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I would
Yeah.
cry.
Yeah. Seemed like you would cry. I might cry now
Yeah.
if I do. So I've been close. I was actually the shadow lady in my bedroom. I was really close to crying.
Yeah.
But I had this like feeling like I was like, I gotta make sure that it doesn't think that I'm scared. So when I left my
Yeah.
room to go to the bathroom that night, like I jumped out of the freaking I was like, in the name of Jesus. And then I jumped out and I went like that really quick
Yeah.
because everybody
Karate chop
knows
the
that
air.
karate chops kill ghosts, you know.
Exactly.
It's the best way to kill a
They're
ghost.
terrified of your karate
So
chops. You know what? That's the thing is if you let them know you're scared, they keep coming back and they're just gonna come back worse.
They're just gonna feed it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did a lot of things like when I was a kid. Like I don't know if maybe you guys did too, but like when you're getting ready for bed and you're walking towards your bed and then you just kind of like not run but give yourself a little bit more speed and
Yep.
jump so you're like not
Yes.
right near the fucking underneath your bed. I
Yep.
used to do that shit like every night.
I used to when I was a
And then
kid
sometimes, yeah,
because I used to think Cookie Monster lived under
Yeah.
my bed. So I'm wondering if maybe there was some
Cookie
sort of
Monster.
spirit that I thought was Cookie Monster. I don't know. But I would never sleep with my legs outside of the blanket or like hanging off the bed. Because I was
Yep,
terrified, like
same.
something would touch me.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
Now I can't sleep with my legs inside the blanket. So,
Yeah.
and maybe that's why, because I spent so much of my life being completely covered. But,
Yep.
and then if I woke up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, I'd jump away from the bed to get out of it. You know, I wouldn't let my feet come down and touch the floor right next to my bed. 'Cause you never know.
And you don't
I've
dangle
seen so many,
slowly.
Might
even
just
back
reach out
then.
and grab you.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Pull you right under the movie Poltergeist when the
Yes.
clown pulled the kid underneath the bed.
Yeah.
Man, that scared the crap out of me. That's one of the movies that made me scared of clowns. I mean, it made me scared of clowns, but
Avery hates them.
also
Me.
Poltergeist and Killer Clowns from Outer Space. So
Yes. I'm absolutely terrified of clowns, so like I got you.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's still I still am to this day.
Me too.
She is too. So we did a Sunday Scary
Terrified.
episode and we had to pick stories for each other. So I did one for her birthday. And because I know how much she loves clowns, I chose killer clown stories that like
It was fucking
it was
horrible.
fucking awful, but I just that's how much I love you.
All of the kids I work with, somehow one of my coworkers told them that, hey, Avery's terrified of clowns. So they're plotting against me, and I think half of them are dressing up as clowns.
Oh.
And I was like, I'm sick that day. I'm not coming in. Fuck you all. Yeah.
Have you
Oh,
guys
man.
seen the movie On the Line?
No.
No.
All right. So every October I do this like watch at least one thriller horror movie every day, every night, you know. So I haven't seen this. It's a Mel Gibson movie and it's he's on the air, and this like disgruntled like listener or somebody freaking calls in, ends up like kidnapping his wife and daughter and stuff like that, but he set bombs to the radio station and killed the security guard and then killed the maintenance worker and stuff like that.
That's that
And
movie.
they're
I
going
remember hearing about that. It's Mel Gibson, man.
yeah
So
yeah
we just covered a case that was like similar to this. That's creepy.
Yeah. So I'm not gonna spoil the ending for you, but we'll go watch it and then tell me what the fuck you think,
Okay.
because I at the end I was
Oh
like,
god.
what the fuck?
What the hell? On the line. I gotta watch it with my dad. He loves that
On
shit.
the
He loves
line.
Mel Gibson. On the line.
Yeah, Mel Gibson's the man. I
So
freaking
great.
I literally just watched it before I got on here tonight.
Nice.
I was like, what in the world? And then freaking my girlfriend's like, don't you have a podcast tonight? I was like, yeah. I was like, I still got 20 minutes.
Exactly. You're killing time beforehand. I tried to get my son to watch a horror movie, not a horror movie, but a Halloween movie with me last night. He's 10. So I was like, want to watch something for Halloween? And he's like, no, I just want to watch NHL clips and an NHL game. I'm like, all right, cool. When you go to bed, I'm going to watch American Horror Stories, like the individual ones and like whatever else I want to watch. But I want to watch more, but I just never get time. By the time I like get my son to bed, because I love horror movies. Like I grew up watching, like my first horror movie I ever watched was Arachnophobia. Then I watched Child's Play. Then it went into Halloween and Candyman and Poltergeist and The Changeling, like all the good classic ones. Except my dad was the type of dad who, whenever I would sleep over with my girlfriends, would always scare the shit out of us. So if we wanted to watch like
my dad did that shit too.
Mine too.
Did your okay?
Yeah.
So my dad did this. My dad plotted this whole thing. One time, he pretended to be Candyman to scare us all, and then we were like, "Okay, we're not going to do a horror movie marathon unless your dad's not home." So it turns out my dad had to travel for work. I'm like, perfect. Let's have a Halloween marathon. My dad's gone to Chicago for a few days. It's going to be perfect. So all the girls come to my house. My sister's friends. There's like probably 10 teenage girls in this living room. He had plotted with the neighbor across the road to dress up as Michael Myers. Because our backyard faced onto like a wooded area. And so we didn't know he had plotted all this. So first my sister's friend comes over and she's being an asshole and she's like pretends to dress up as Michael Myers and scare us. And we're like, hey, you're like not funny, whatever. So of course we're already just like, yay, guard down because this man's not around. And so there was like this, where our couches was, it backed on, it was like a sectional, and then behind the sectional was like a sliding door and then another window which led into the kitchen. And so we were sitting there watching the movie and we just hear like this tapping. And we're all like, what is that? And I was like, what is that? And when my mom's just like, playing a movie, it's like, oh, I don't know what's going on. And just kept tapping on the window. And then we hear it move to the sliding door. And of course, it's got the blinds are closed. And then we hear more tapping. And so I think my sister was the one who got up and like opened the window, like the sliding curtains. She opens this. There's this man standing there with the full Michael Myers getup on, like this fake knife in his hand. We didn't know at the time. All of us losing our mind. I have never seen my friend jump over a couch so freaking fast and high. We're all like huddled together and we're like losing it. And then next thing we know, look out, the guy's gone. But it's like pitch black, so you can't see anything. And we're like, just like freaking out. And then the phone rings. So of course we're like scared again. Phone rings, my dad calling. My mom's like, oh, it's your dad. He's calling from Chicago, blah, blah. And I guess because when our neighbor went back to his place, probably told my dad, hey, I went over. So my dad calls to check up and see what's going on. No cell phones at that point, but calls. So of course I'm like, well, why is my mom like not as scared? Because typically like she's very jumpy. And so she's on the phone dying laughing. And we're all like, what are you laughing at? And my dad's just on the other end in Chicago, living his best life, knowing that he's scared like 10 teenage girls shitless because he conspired with the neighbor to dress up as Michael Myers and scare us. We were
That's
so
awesome.
mad. My friends were like, still like, I don't know if I want to come over, even if your dad's not home. I don't know if I trust it. And I'm like, I mean, it's a great story and I love to tell it. So I'm like, you know what, Dad? Kudos to you for planning that. Like, that's pretty intense.
Oh man.
We had so there was like 4 of us It was me, my sister, my stepsister, and my stepbrother, and every time we were at my dad's house, we would have a movie night, and sometimes it would be 3 movies, and one of them was always a horror movie. So we were living in New Hampshire at the time, and my dad had this skeleton mask with like a trucker hat on or whatever. But so he was like, he went to bed like an hour. So it had been a good solid hour of my dad in his room. So we're like, he's definitely sleeping at this point, and we're sitting there, and there's a basement door. So like his room's to the left, and my stepmom also went to bed, but she actually probably went to bed. And then the basement door was probably like, I don't know, 5, maybe 6 feet away from his door. But so like if we were sitting in the living room where we were sitting in the center on the floor, to have this, and we had like a little mattress and shit. So it would be diagonally to our left. So it's behind us technically. And this motherfucker went through his window and then through the basement window to come up out of the basement with this mask on. And freaking, I caught it first because I leaned back and I saw something out of the corner of my eye, and I went like that, and I fucking, and so as soon as I turned my head, he leaned up, and I was like, and then everybody else freaking yelled, and we all took off running, and I was like, holy, like that was good. That was really good.
I love it. We were raised the same, just scared shitless from our dads.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I wish
my mom.
Sorry, I got a cough.
Mom.
You can go. Sorry.
I was just gonna say my mom never did that stuff. She just made me scared in real life, like for real, like actually.
Same.
Yeah.
The terrifying. That's
like
me.
Scared for my life.
Yeah.
That's Mandy as a mom.
That is me as a mother. My oldest
She's not
hates
my
it.
mom, and I'm scared.
Yeah. My kid always says, he's like, he'll look at my mom and be like, why does she look at me like that, Grandma? I don't like it. And my mom's like, she's like, it's so scary. I hate it. Like, he'll say stuff to me, and I'm the type of, like, I do have a look that I give my children that they know, but I was a single mother for so long that I was like, I have boys. I need to know, like, they can't walk all over me. They got to respect people.
Yep.
Like, that's how I am with them. And sometimes I can get a little excessive, but at the end of the day, they still like, they're like, we love you, Mom, and we understand. But they'll say stuff and I'll just stare at them and don't say a word. And they hate that. Like, drives them nuts.
Dead stare.
Are you going to say anything? And I'm like, nope, just dead blank. And then I'll walk away. Irritates them so much. And I'm like, yes, I have won. I'm just gonna walk away now. But they know.
That's funny. I personally don't stare, but like that would irritate me too, I think, being stared at when I'm trying to talk. But my daughter was just I just did an episode with my kids so that one came out last Friday, and my daughter was talking about, she's like, sometimes when I'm talking to you, you'll like start to answer me, and then you'll just stop and then like move on with your life. And I'm like, do I really do that? And she's like, I asked you if we were gonna go to Dick's Sporting Goods, and you just said, and then you walked away.
I
was like, did I really do that?
I listened to that and I laughed so hard because I'm like, that's a parent move where you're just kind of like, either you're avoiding the question or you have 20 million other things on your brain. And your kids are like, hello. Like,
yeah.
That was so funny.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I was like, fucking, hey, man, my ADHD is kicking my ass right now. Like, that's got to be crazy. I was like, I don't even remember that happening. Like, I was like, I probably had something else on my mind. But, so what were some of the experiences in the hotel you worked at?
Well, there was quite a few. So the hotel that I worked at, it's still popping to this day. It's still standing. So I worked at it in 2004 and 2005. Yeah, because I had my son in 2006. So around there. And I started just like regular shift, and then I moved to night shift when I was probably like 4 or 5 months pregnant. So I was like, I don't want to deal with people. Put me on the night audit shift. I just want to be left alone. And so
I like that.
Then it was kind of more like retro, so it was originally a mill. Like I think it was a grain mill. At one point it was like, I think a distillery mill, a sawmill. They had different types of mills. And so I think it was constructed around 1800, and it was right on the Elora Gorge, which is a very popular tourist spot in Elora, which is where Avery lives. And in I think the 1970s, it was purchased and turned into a hotel. So it kind of had still that old charm to it. Had like the old like beds with the 4 posts and the little canopies and all that stuff. And a lot of antiques and stuff in the hotel too. So it was about 4 floors. So you had your main hotel building, which had 4 floors, and then across in the parking lot, which is really small because it's kind of like at a dead end road because that's where the gorge is. There was a small little cabin called I think it was the James Ross House. And then to the right of it, there was a separate building that had 3 rooms in it, which is also part of like the whole granary buildings. And then another one, which is actually called the Granary Building, kind of kitty corner to that. And it had about 5 rooms in it. And all of it was like all brick, like very like eerie, old school feeling to it. Now it's been renovated and it's just like high end now, very fancy. I don't know what experiences people have in this place. It's very bougie, very expensive. So when I was there, of course, I get all the fun experiences. So there was, you can't really find too much on like random people's ghost stories and stuff. Most of the stories that I heard and that I experienced myself was from being there. So we would get, when I was on day shift, we would get little notes from people who stayed in 3 specific rooms, and they would always say, oh, I had a weird experience in here, or it felt really weird, or my room was really cold, or I heard random noises at night. And people were like, I think this room is haunted. And so we were kind of like, ooh, this is interesting. We gathered all these stories, and I worked the day shift, so I didn't really, experience too much during then. And then once I switched to night shift, I was like, oh, now I understand. Now I get it. So my job was I'd work from 11 to 7. And my job was to go and print out all of the day, like the sales from like the dining room and the lounge, all of the hotel room stays, and just calculate it for the accountant in the morning, put it all together. And then she would do her job. So I really didn't do too much work. I watched a lot of movies, a lot of YouTube, took some naps. It's made my own food in the kitchen, things I probably shouldn't do while I'm working, but I did anyways. And I think the first things I started to experience was right beside the front desk was the elevator, and the elevator would go directly into the kitchen as well if you use the back button. So during about 3 a.m. to 5 a.m., the elevator would randomly go from the main lobby to the lounge, back up to the top floor, which is the 4th floor, and then it would come back down to the main lobby. No one was on it, and it would do this every night, usually around the same time, even when no one was staying in the hotel. And there would be times then that the hotel would be empty, especially during winter, and no one would be staying there, but I'd still have to be there at the front desk. Those were the creepiest times that I'm like, why is this elevator moving? Like I would legit walk the long way around, even to the creepy dining room, to go into the kitchen, because I did not want to go through that elevator during that time frame, which is usually when I was hungry. So I was like, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna take the long way around. And then sometimes I would notice things. So if I'd have to walk through the dining room, and then there was some stairs off to the right that would take me down to the lounge. And in the dining room, they had these old like cupboards and chests that they would hold all like the napkins in, extra plates, extra bowls, and like the cutlery in the drawers. So sometimes I would walk through the dining room and I'd go downstairs to the lounge, print out all my stuff. And when I would come back up, drawers and cupboard doors would be open on those things, and no one else was there. All the staff had gone home for the night, and I was the only one basically in the dining room or the kitchen. And unless those were usually the nights when like it was pretty quiet, there was not even like weddings or anything happening. Sometimes there would be just random forks and knives would fall off the tables when they were set. So I'd come back, like I'd walk past and a fork would be on the floor, so I'd pick it up, replace it, and put a new one in. go downstairs, and then I'd come back up, and then like a knife would be on the floor or be moved or something like off the table. That I'd always be like, can you stop doing this? Because it's really annoying. Don't do that. And one time I was in the lounge. Usually I was by myself, but this night I think the cleaner was in that night. And I was downstairs in the lounge, and they'll have the racks where they put all like the wine glasses and stuff up top the bar. So there was like this wine glass, and it was on the little sliding rack. And for some reason, it's like it jumped off the sliding rack, came off, and like smashed on the counter and just kind of like smashed everywhere. Like pieces hit me and stuff. And I was like, what the hell just happened? There was like no breeze. Windows didn't open down there because it faced right onto the gorge. So it was like very strange. So I was like, that's interesting. So that night I was kind of like, I'm going to stay where all the lights are on. And then above the front desk was the event space. So that's where they would hold like all the weddings, receptions, different types of events that were happening. Like if corporate groups came in, that's where they would have their meetings and stuff. So on nights when there was weddings, of course, I'd hear everybody up there moving around, doing their thing. The wait staff will be up there a little bit longer. And some nights I would hear noises. And so I'd be like, oh, I wonder if there must be one person still left. I thought everyone left for the night. So I would go up the stairs and go into the lounge and be like, oh, do you guys need any help? Like, you're here. It's really late. Nobody would be up there. It was like as if they were like moving chairs or like dragging something across the floor. But there was never anybody up there. Everyone had already gone home for the night. And on the 4th floor, I hated going to the 4th floor. So you would have to do like your checks every night. So people wanted like breakfast brought to their room. You'd have to go around and like collect the chits off their door back then, because there wasn't any of that, just text it. So you would have to go around and collect all the chits off the door. That means I'd have to leave the actual hotel to go to the other buildings. Fucking hated that too. And collect them to say if they wanted them. Most of the time, I'd be like, oh, no one had theirs there. There was nobody, because they always came in. The one times I miss it, though, I'd be like, oh, no, like, they must have put it out after I went. I'd have some sort of excuse, because I just absolutely hated it. So the 4th floor had, like, it was a weird feeling. Like, you go up, and it would just be, like, the doors, you didn't want the doors to open. It'd be, like, this, like, anticipation. It would open, and it would always be so cold. Like, it just always felt cold and eerie, like somebody was watching you. And there was 2 rooms on that floor where people have experienced things. And the one room, people said they experienced seeing somebody in their room. And that's exactly, but I refused to go into that room. I would never go into that room. The one room that people would experience things in, actually, Jennifer Lopez stayed in that room when she filmed Angel Eyes. It's a really old movie, but she stayed there, which I thought was crazy that she came all the way to Elora. Really? But that was another one. So, hey, Jennifer Lopez, have you ever experienced anything crazy? I would like to know. What else did I experience? I had people, I had one time a random knock at the door, because I would lock the front door. And I went out and I looked out, and there was nobody nowhere, because it was a dead-end road. I couldn't see anybody. That night I was scared shitless, and I called my mom, and she drove like 20 minutes to come sit with me all night, because I was like, what the fuck? I was pregnant. I was like, what? I don't know what's happening. Oh God, that's
nice of her.
Yeah, she was just like, she ran around with like a bat thinking she was going to have to attack somebody. But I was like, who is it? I don't know. But yeah, I never actually saw anything. But there was rumors that, I don't know if it's rumors or a legend, that when it was a granary or a mill, that someone had, because it caught on fire, I think twice prior to becoming the hotel. So, yeah. And it's been said that some little girl actually died in that area due to the fire. So sucks. I don't know if that's true, and that's her spirit, who's like, the one in the elevator playing around. But yeah, those were the things I experienced when I was there. I was hoping to see things, but I saw things move. That's about it. Hear noises. It was always a very interesting night shift. Just talk to people that I assume were there or not. I don't know.
How often did you call your mom?
In the beginning, I'd call her sometimes, but then after that, I just kind of got used to it. And then I think I was just super pregnant. I just didn't care. And I was like, meh, I'm taking a nap. I'm over it. Wake me up, ghost.
Stop fucking with me.
Yeah. Don't wake me up. I'm taking a nap.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, those are
Oh man.
interesting times.
So, have you ever seen a UFO?
I haven't.
I have
No.
not, no.
Oh man, I was hoping you would have, especially being in Canada.
I would love to see something like that.
Yeah.
I think that would be.
I've never seen a UFO. So that out of all the paranormal-esque things to experience, that UFO is the only one. But I will say, I was I think it was like 3 weeks ago. I was on the highway. It was like 3:30 in the morning because I clock in at work at 3 o'clock in the morning. So I was in my work truck on the highway, and I saw this like string of lights, and it just looked like let me see if I can. So it looked like something like this in the sky, but it was like, so it like had like this bend to the top of it, and then it was just kind of like come down, like it was like like Christmas lights or something, but it was just they were white lights, and they were friggin' in the sky, and they were all together in a line like that, and I was just like, what in the world is that? And I was like staring at it while I was on the highway, and then I got off the highway, and I'm trying to follow it, and I lost it, and I was like, where'd these lights go? And I don't know what. So
That's intriguing.
was it a UFO? I don't know.
We don't
Was
know.
it the International Space Station? Probably not, because it wouldn't be like curved like that.
Curved, no.
That's interesting.
So
I am very,
that's
intrigued
weird.
to like. I'm always looking in the sky. Like I know me and my kids are, and like my boyfriend's really into like, the galaxy and stars and space, and so is my other friend. So whenever we're out having a fire at his place and hanging out, we're just always looking in the sky. And I would love to see something. I think the only thing we saw was a shooting star, some planes, but I don't know. Some places are too cloudy, or like there's just, it's not clear enough.
Too much light
pollution.
Yeah,
Too much light pollution.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think you have to go
Pinch poke, you owe me a Coke.
The cookies and cream one? Isn't there a cookies and cream
Cookies
Coke?
and cream one?
Yeah, remember your brother had a cookies and cream
Oreo.
Coke, but you can buy them here. Or Oreo, yeah, sorry, same thing.
Yeah.
Same diff. But
ew.
Yeah, I know, right?
I was like, that looks
sounds
absolutely disgusting.
Yeah, that sounds really gross.
I don't.
Absolutely gross. I don't.
You don't want to know.
I don't want that near me.
No.
No.
Probably don't want to know.
The United States already allows a bunch of bullshit in our foods.
Yeah.
We don't need Oreo Coca-Cola too.
No.
Yeah, I know. Like
Which is very wild that Canada had that before in the States.
Yeah. It's wild times. But Avery, you have any other stories?
Let's see. Oh, so it ended up being nothing, but going back to the haunted church. So again, when I started working there, my boss had just bought the church. So she was still kind of in the midst of renovating it. So she had all of the pews ripped out, but there was still the carpet going right down the middle, and then just like emptiness on either side. And on the ceiling, nice big tall ceiling, there were paintings of saints, obviously. And it's my first time in the church. I'm already creeped out. My client is in there riding one of these like little tricycles, and it squeaks like it's straight out of Saw movie. Like it is fucking creepy to begin with. And I'm sitting there just watching it, going up and down. She would have been the one to say that too. Like this girl has seen some stuff, definitely. But she's riding up and down, and all I hear is this squeaking and creaking, and all of a sudden she's like, Avery, there's people on the ceiling. My heart sinks so fast. I'm like, oh fuck,
oh my God.
Fuck. How am I going to explain to this child that there's a ghost on the ceiling? So I'm like, it's okay, it's fine. Just keep biking around. And she starts to get very mad. She's like, Avery, there's people on the ceiling. Like, you need to look. They're gonna come and get us. I'm like, oh shit. I look up and there's just paintings. Like it wasn't anything. But like my heart dropped. I'm like, oh, there's gonna be people up here. What am I gonna do?
You're like, don't look.
Yeah. No. Or
That's
like
fucking
another time, I
hilarious.
had to go into like the crawl space of the church, and you like go down these like 3-4 steep drop stairs, and then it's just dirt. And once I get under there, I'm trying to like take out my flashlight. I'm bringing like an HVAC guy down there to do some work on the heating system. And I was like, oh yeah, it's just over there somewhere. And he's like, okay, like, can you shine a light for me? I'm like, okay, yeah, it's fine. I'll shine one. So as I go and like pull up my phone, I catch something and I panic because it was like in the corner of the room. So I'm like, oh fuck, 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 fuck. And I finally turn a light on, and there's like a line in the corner of just gravestones, like perfectly propped up down in this crawl space. I'm like, oh my
Oh god.
ooh. Ooh. Guarantee if I stayed down there longer, something would have like jumped out and got me.
Yeah.
Probably.
Mm-hmm.
Probably a demon.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah,
waiting.
or a
Just
vampire.
living under this church.
Fucking vamper. Eh. Eh.
Yeah.
Are you religious?
No.
No.
No. We just happened to work in an old church.
I got you. I got you. What do you think about do you have anything like any opinions on religion,
really.
or what do you believe?
I'm just like kind of open. Like, you believe what
Mhm.
you want. I'm gonna just sit here and like I don't think of any like superior thing. I don't put all my faith in one
Mhm.
superior thing. I think there could be a realm of different possibilities, but
Mhm.
I've never been a very like religious active
I feel
person
you,
in that
though.
aspect. Yeah.
Yeah,
But like
we neither one of
religion
us
in
grew up
itself
that
and
way
like all
though.
religions are very fascinating. Yeah.
Yeah. Or organized religion is the problem, I think. I think that's what leaves a bad taste in a
Yeah.
lot of people's mouths when it
Yeah.
comes to religion. But it's because when you get too many people talking about the same shit, I feel like that's
Yeah.
when you kind of like run into into problems.
Yeah.
And then they think everybody's a witch.
Yeah.
So
And then we're gonna hang you for it.
yeah.
I think people still believe that
Yeah.
that there's real witches out there. So I mean,
Oh god.
Yeah.
I went
Yeah,
to
man.
Salem last fall with my boyfriend, and we're walking around, and I was there as a teenager too. And this one girl standing on the corner, she's like, oh my god, this is where they hung them. Don't you know that they're gonna come back for us? I'm like, not real, but okay. You think that? She was very like concerned that she was going to get attacked by a witch. Like, why would you come here then?
just so she can
Yeah,
say.
what the fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you stay at the Salem Inn? You should, if you go back to Salem, you should stay at the Salem Inn.
I wanted to, but no, it was booked up. I was like, this is crap.
You got to get room 17.
Room 17.
We want to
okay.
plan a trip.
Mandy, when we go.
Yes.
When we go.
Mhm.
Can we do it for my 40th birthday?
Yep.
That's next year.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Really, next year? Jesus Christ. So, my ex-wife used to work at the Salem Inn when we lived in Massachusetts for a short stint, and so she worked there. And her brother, one of her brothers, not the same one that we live next to, but one of her brothers was like the night maintenance guy. So he had actually, they gave him an apartment all the way at the top floor.
Oh.
And
Oh wow.
he had said that in the basement, one night he was walking through, and there was a couple, like there was like a man, a woman, and a kid, or a teenager or something like that. There was at least 3 people anyways, and one of them was a woman, and they were dressed in like old-timey clothes, and there had been just like a show, and because they get a lot of people from like the theaters and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they were in the basement where um residents, or whatever the fuck you call them. What do you call people that stay at a hotel when you're at a hotel? Just attendees or whatever. Anyways. Yes, there we go. There we go. Why I cannot freaking think words tonight. Holy crap. So no guests are allowed in the basement anyway. So he's walking through and it's really dark. It's dark, and he sees them, and he turns and he goes, "You're not allowed up here, down here." And they just like stared at him, and he's like,
"Oh my god!"
He goes, "Just so you know, you're not allowed down here." And he like walked to the doorway to turn the light switch on, and he turned it on, turned around, and there was nobody there.
Oh my god!
Oh man,
you would not like that,
So
Avery.
that,
yeah. No.
And then room 17 is what he told me it gets a lot of experiences. So we went in there one day while my ex-wife was working there, and we just stood there, and there's like this weird painting that sits on the wall right behind the headboard of the bed, and it like just made me feel weird. It's just like it's an odd painting. I can't remember what it looks like now, but it's like something that you wouldn't be like, why you'd walk in and be like, why is that painting there? Like,
Interesting.
you know, it's like not like of a landscape or anything like you would normally see at a hotel or anything like that. It was just a odd, something really weird, and it made me feel weird. And then I'm standing there, and he's like, "You want me to leave you alone in this room?" And I'm like, "No." I was like, I already feel weird. And then so we're talking, and I'm getting uncomfortable. I'm getting this really uncomfortable feeling, and then it gets cold. And I was like, "Hey, guess what? It's time to leave."
Yeah. Yeah,
So ever since then, I've wanted to stay in that room, but I just never have. So
you gotta go.
It would be quite the experience.
You go with a group of people, so it's like one of the so there's a place in Penetanguishene that we covered. It's called the Beck House. It's like one of our like first couple of episodes we did, and because I used to live in Penetang, I knew of this manor, and I always just assumed it was just apartments. I didn't realize that it actually is haunted, and I would drive by it like every day, even for years. Like even recently I go by it because I still have friends who live up there. And so when I found out it was haunted, I was like, oh, that's so cool. Then I found out that the top floor is an Airbnb because the other is converted to apartment. So the rest of it's just all apartments, but you can rent the top floor, and that's where there's activity and stuff. And a few people have, like, I've seen their videos of them staying there and experiencing things. So I was like, we need to go stay there. And our plan was to go and stay there this October. It didn't work out for us, but I think we're going to try and plan and go anytime. I know my sister really wants to go too. So, but I was like, that is super cool. I want to go stay in the top floor and hang out with a few people and figure out like what activity is happening in there.
What the fuck happens to us?
Yeah.
Man.
Just make sure you do a protection prayer or something.
Yeah.
Bring crystals. I don't know.
Sage,
something
crystals.
like that.
Yeah. We'll make sure to karate chop as we walk around too. Just
Yeah.
You never know where they're gonna be. You never know.
No,
you can't see them.
You just walk in the room, just karate chopping.
Open the door. Yeah.
Oh man, holy cow! It's almost been 2 hours,
oh, wow.
ladies.
Yeah.
So
it's been fun.
So I'll ask you this: are you guys finding fulfillment in the journey you are partaking in with the podcast now?
Yes.
Definitely, yeah.
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 We absolutely like.
Good,
I know I
that's
absolutely
awesome.
love it. We have a great time with it, and I think the big thing for us is, you know, meeting everyone else in the community, which is a big portion of doing podcasting. The people we meet, you know, being able to collab with you, as well as when we did with David and Amanda, and we have some other ones that we've been talking to as well. Plus, getting these stories out to people and know that we are making an impact, and we're kind of sharing stories that haven't been told as much to get that awareness and information out. And we're also learning so much ourselves. There's so much research involved that, like, I'll like do something and I'll like start researching something, and next thing you know, I'm like, holy crap, I found something else I didn't know about. And then I go down a different rabbit hole. And then I have all these things and all this information that I'm like, okay, I don't know what story to start with first, but I've got like so much stuff happening. Giant list of like things we want to touch on in cases. And I don't know much, but I just love that we get to do it together and
feed
off each other that
way. It
way.
made it really easy, like going in with we didn't really have high hopes, to be honest. We were just kind of like, well, fuck around and find out. Bit of a motto for us, like, whatever. Let's just see what happens. So like when we hit 100 followers on Instagram, we were like, holy fuck, what? We did it. Like, this is so cool. So now just like seeing how like that goal keeps moving little by little for us, we're like, oh, look at us go. It's so cool.
Even like when we just like look on like our followers on like Spotify or Amazon or Apple or wherever we are, like I'll be like, oh my God, we got a new follower today. Like for us, that's a big win for us. We're like, oh, someone else wants to listen. I'm like, oh my God, look how many listens this episode got. Like for us, we think that's great. We would love more feedback from people though. So please give us feedback. We want to know. I mean, I like your feedback, Kevin. Avery, don't be so quiet. Don't whisper into the phone.
Yeah, and like coming from Mandy's kids and like some of our friends, like again, like Mandy said at the beginning, we think we are fucking hilarious. When we're sitting there, even like we'll start recording. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. We'll start recording and I'm sitting there editing for so long because I'm like, oh God, I gotta cut all this fucking out because it's just us sitting, shooting the shit, like having fun with each other. And Mandy's son was like, you guys aren't like really that funny. Like, is this gonna work for you? And we're like, yeah, Preston, it is. We're fucking hilarious.
And now he loves it.
So
and wants to listen to it. And he's like, oh my God, Mom, that's so funny. Like one episode, I let him listen to like the Sunday Scaries and not like the murder cases. I let him listen to like the haunted stories because he's had his own haunted experience too. So I let him listen to those ones. And I told one of his haunted experience on one of the podcasts. And so I let him listen to that episode. He's like, oh, Mom, you told it so much better than I would. He's like, I would have just been really short. He's like, but you did kind of get one thing wrong. You should have said this instead. And then I guess I said something else. And he just like burst out laughing. He's like, oh, that's so funny, Mom. And I was like, see, your mother is funny. You know you enjoy my jokes. Like
I told you.
Yeah.
I'm trying to tell you this whole entire time.
Yeah, exactly.
Should have believed me.
Yeah, but no, we're absolutely so happy we're doing this because we've only been doing it since March. So for us, it's we didn't think anyone would listen to us. Like even like our friends and family were like, don't listen to us. How about not? Like it's just so weird when they do.
And then we find out that my parents are like the biggest supporters, my dad. It took 5-6 months for my dad to clue in that it was actually us, and he only did because we posted like my birthday episode.
Yeah, her dad was listening to the podcast. No idea it was our podcast.
Yeah. No, like didn't allude to like it being my voice or my name or anything.
He knew we had
one.
So
on my birthday, he texts our group. Yeah, I told him. He texts our group chat and he's like, holy fuck, this is so weird. Like, it's Avery and like doesn't like clowns. And then the next message was like, oh shit, it's you. And my mom and my brother are like, holy fuck. So
he lives with you and didn't recognize your voice? Yeah. Like he did not. Like
No.
My God, that's hilarious. That's fucking awesome.
Yeah. Even my oldest, he was like, oh, Mom, like my 8-year-old, he's like, oh, he used to work at the Cineplex. So he was like the movie theater. He's like, oh, my friends, they love your podcast. Because the one day I went to the movies and he was working and we went and saw Deadpool and he was working and he's talking to his buddies and they're like, oh, Owen says you have a podcast. That's so cool. And they're like talking away to me. And he's like, Mom, they still listen to your podcast. They freaking love it. And I was like, okay, that's why we have those younger ages on ours, Avery. It's them. It's all, it's all those teenagers. But yeah.
Oh man, I'm looking forward to the year-end review on Spotify because I don't look at my numbers on anything. So I don't know how many people are actually listening. So
you just go and do it because
it'll be fun to find out.
You go in blind. That's cool though, because we're like it'll be exciting too. It's different, right? Because you have so many there's a few different areas. So it's like you have numbers here and then other numbers here. And then what was the recent one? Was Good Pods, I think. We were like number 69, I think, out of a top 100 for some category, which we thought was really really cool. Of course, 69, I mean, great number, but
exactly.
Perfect.
There's there's listen notes or something like that. It it gives you a number. It tells you what percentage of all podcasts. So there's like 3 million podcasts out there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I don't. So JJ Rose, the lady I was just telling you about, the medium for your sister, she sent me a screenshot. My podcast is top 5 of all podcasts.
Wow.
That's awesome.
And then I think Amanda and David are like top 3% of all podcasts.
That's awesome.
So that's pretty cool.
They're pretty fucking funny. So I mean,
they are.
Well, David's funny. I don't know about Amanda.
She's gonna come for you with that comment.
She loves me.
Yeah.
She would never do anything to harm me. So, especially when I wear my hat backwards. So, anywho, if you guys don't mind, one more time letting the good people know where they can find your podcast.
You can find us on
and your socials.
Yeah, you can find us on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, Audible, Good Pods, pretty much anywhere you.
Everything.
Yeah, we're not on Patreon yet.
Yeah, anywhere you find them.
But we are planning to make our way there. And you can find us on Instagram at TTCV Podcast. So go and follow us,
and
like us.
TikTok at the same handle.
Yeah, we haven't updated that in forever. Because I don't know. I don't really understand TikTok. So you know what? This old lady's...
I have to teach Mandy TikTok.
Yeah, I'm trying. I'm really trying.
Yep.
I mainly do the Instagram. That's me. Like post all those stuff. You can check. So click the link in our bio on Instagram, and you can see us anywhere. Like it's Linktree, so you can see us where you can find us and listen to us. And we also just came out with some merch. We made some designs, so that's fun. Check that out. Oh yeah, you got yours on. I got mine. One of the designs.
Got mine on.
One of mine on.
Nice.
So yeah.
Nice.
And stuff.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well. All right, everybody, that is the show. So I will put their links in the show description so you can get there a little bit easier, or you can just go follow them on Instagram and you can get their links there. But anywho, if you like today's show or any of the other episodes, please like, follow, share, subscribe, leave a rating and review. I would greatly appreciate it. I haven't had a review in a while. But if your catcher doesn't allow a review, you can head on over to wheretheweirdonесarepodcast.com. That's where you can get merch, you can get hot sauce, and you can get the brand new coffee from the coffee company that I just started. So yeah, so you got coffee, hot sauce, and t-shirts all in one spot. Also check out the new podcast of the month. It's Tales, Trails, and Taverns. It's a great podcast. I think you guys should check it out. So other than that, hope you guys have a good day, good night, whatever time you decide to listen to this. And remember, question everything and stay weird.
This concludes our broadcast day. Click.
Because in the end, none of us have very long on this earth. Life is fleeting. And if you're ever distressed, cast your eyes to the summer sky. When the stars are strung across the velvety night, and when a shooting star streaks through the blackness, turning night into day, make a wish.